Part 1, The Great Exile, Detailed Version. Chapter 1, Journey to Judgment, The Diplomatic Shuttle. New Sol drifted through the void toward the most magnificent and terrifying structure humanity had ever encountered. Captain Li Jinwu adjusted his formal uniform one final time, the weight of representing his entire species pressing down on his shoulders like a physical force. Visual contact with the Galactic Council Station, announced Pilot Officer Kim Dae-bin from the cockpit, her voice barely concealing her awe. Distance, 50,000 kilometers and closing. Ambassador Park Soo-jin floated beside Jinwu in the observation lounge, her diplomatic credentials gleaming on her chest. Behind them, Dr. Kim Tae-ho reviewed his presentation materials for the 100th time, muttering scientific formulas under his breath like prayers. "Look at it," whispered Cultural Attaché Yoon Jisoo, pressing her face against the viewport. "It's like they built a city inside a crystal and taught it to fly." The Galactic Council Station defied every principle of physics humanity understood. Crystalline spires twisted through space in impossible spirals, connected by bridges of pure energy that seemed to bend reality itself. Ships from a dozen different civilizations docked at ports that existed in folded space, and the entire structure pulsed with a light that hurt to look at directly. "Preliminary scans are confusing," reported Science Officer Park Hyun-soo. "The station appears to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Our sensors can't get a solid reading on its actual size." Dr. Kim looked up from his data pad, excitement overriding his nervousness. "Think of what we could learn from them. Technology that treats space like clay, energy sources that could power Earth for millennia, medical knowledge accumulated over eons. If they accept us," Soo-jin reminded him quietly. "The preliminary communications haven't exactly been warm." Jinwu nodded grimly. Over the past 6 months, humanity's attempts at contact had been met with cold, bureaucratic responses. No welcoming committee, no cultural exchange, just sterile instructions on how to present their case for admission to the galactic community. "Incoming transmission," Dae-bin announced. Audio only translated from, "I think it's called hegemonic standard." The voice that filled the shuttle was synthetic, devoid of emotion. "Human vessel, you are cleared for approach vector 77 Alpha. Proceed to docking bay designated for primitive species evaluation. Maintain distance from established civilizations' vessels." The insult hit like a physical blow. Primitive species evaluation. "Charming welcome," muttered Security Chief Han Dong-wook, his hand unconsciously moving toward his sidearm. "Easy," Jinwu cautioned. "We knew this wouldn't be simple. Humanity has been spacefaring for barely 50 years. To them, we're infants. Dangerous infants, apparently," Soo-jin added, reviewing the intelligence reports on her tablet. "According to our analysis of their public communications, several council members view our rapid technological advancement as anomalous and potentially destabilizing." Chapter 2, Alien Harbor. The docking bay assigned to humanity was clearly located in the station's equivalent of a quarantine zone. While alien vessels of incredible beauty and complexity occupied the central docking areas, the human shuttle was directed to a sparse, functional bay that felt more like a holding cell. As they disembarked, Jinwu noticed the complete absence of other beings. No welcoming committee, no curious observers, no signs of the bustling galactic civilization they'd hoped to join. Just empty corridors and the constant hum of alien machinery. "The facilitator will arrive shortly," announced the same synthetic voice. "Remain in designated areas. Do not attempt to interact with station systems." Dr. Lim So-young, the delegation's xenobiologist, was taking readings with her scanner. "The atmosphere is breathable, but it's been artificially adjusted for us. The base atmospheric composition is methane-heavy. They're literally putting us in a bubble." 20 minutes later, their escort arrived. The being that called itself a facilitator looked like a walking crystal formation. 50 years had passed since the galaxy slammed the door on humanity's face. Director Yoon Mi-ra, walked through the corridors of Prometheus Station, watching engineers and scientists work with the quiet intensity that had become humanity's trademark. The massive asteroid had been hollowed out and transformed into something the aliens never could have imagined, a technological marvel hidden right under their noses. The station buzzed with activity. In the laboratories, Dr. Park Jin-woo was testing the latest improvements to their stealth technology. Down in the manufacturing bays, teams led by engineer Kim Hee-jin were building ships that could phase in and out of normal space like ghosts. And in the command center, holographic displays showed something that should have been impossible: human vessels moving freely through alien territory, completely undetected. "Ma'am, Commander Choi is requesting a priority link," announced Communications Officer Lee Taemin from his console. Yoon nodded and stepped onto the quantum communication platform. The air shimmered and suddenly Commander Choi Min-ho appeared before her like a translucent ghost. He was calling from the bridge of the stealth frigate Incheon, currently positioned at the very edge of Centauri space, deep in alien territory. "Report." "Commander," Yoon said, keeping her voice steady despite the excitement building in her chest. Choi's image flickered slightly as the quantum signal adjusted. "Third reconnaissance mission is complete, Director. We've successfully mapped 17 different alien patrol routes across 4 star systems. The good news is they still think we're completely trapped behind their barrier." Dr. Han So-young looked up from her workstation, where streams of complex mathematical equations flowed across multiple screens. The phase shift drives performed flawlessly during the mission. We slipped through 3 different alien checkpoints without even registering on their sensors. As far as their instruments are concerned, we simply don't exist. Yoon felt a surge of pride. When the aliens had locked humanity away, they thought they were solving a problem. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed: time, motivation, and a burning desire to prove them wrong. The quarantine barrier that was supposed to contain them had become humanity's greatest teacher. "Tell me about the alien defenses," Yoon requested. Choi's expression grew more serious. "They're overconfident, Director. 50 years of believing they've contained the human problem has made them lazy. Their patrol patterns are predictable, their sensor networks have gaps we can exploit, and their communication protocols are surprisingly easy to intercept once you know what to look for." The breakthrough had come 20 years ago when Dr. Shin Aaron discovered how to fold space around a ship, creating what she called dimensional pockets. Instead of traveling through normal space where alien sensors could detect them, human ships now slipped between layers of reality itself. To alien instruments they were invisible, not because they couldn't be seen, but because they technically weren't there. "What about their military capabilities?" asked Colonel Nam Jae-sung, the station's security chief. "Impressive but outdated," Choi replied. "They're still using energy weapons and kinetic shields. Technology that's thousands of years old but hasn't really evolved. They've gotten comfortable with their superiority. They stopped innovating because they didn't think they needed to." Yoon smiled grimly. That was the aliens' biggest mistake. While they had been sitting on their technological achievements, humanity had been clawing its way forward with desperate creativity. Being cut off from galactic civilization hadn't stopped human progress. It had focused it like a laser beam. Dr. Han stood up from her calculations, excitement clear in her voice. "Director, I've been running simulations based on the data from our scouting missions. The dimensional phase technology isn't just useful for stealth. We can use it for something much bigger." "Explain," Yoon said. "We can create permanent dimensional folds," Han continued, her words coming faster with excitement. "Imagine taking an entire asteroid, an entire planet even, and shifting it slightly out of phase with normal space. It would still be there, still be real, but completely invisible to anyone who doesn't know how to look." The implications hit everyone in the room at once. Lieutenant Bae Sung-ho, one of the younger officers, spoke up first. "You mean we could build colonies that the aliens would never find?" "More than that," Han replied. "We could build an entire civilization in the tier spaces between their worlds. We could be everywhere and nowhere at the same time." Yoon looked around the command center at the faces of her people. 50 years ago, These were the descendants of humans who had been rejected, humiliated, and locked away like dangerous animals. Now they were the architects of humanity's greatest triumph. "The reconnaissance phase is over," she announced. "Commander Choi, return to base. Dr. Han, begin preparing the dimensional fold generators for mass production. Colonel Nam, start selecting sites for our first hidden colonies." She paused, looking at each of them in turn. The aliens thought they were containing us. Instead, they gave us the greatest gift possible. They united humanity against a common enemy and gave us 50 years to become something they never expected. "What's Phase 2, Director?" asked Taemin. Yoon's smile was sharp as a blade. "Phase 2 is simple. We're going to build an empire right under their noses. And when we're ready, we're going to show them exactly what happens when you underestimate humanity." The hunt was about to begin. Colony Administrator Nam Jae-sung pressed his palm against the massive viewing window of New Busan's central tower, watching the city spread out below him like a glowing circuit board. 2 million human souls lived and worked in this hollow moon, going about their daily lives just a few thousand kilometers away from alien cargo ships that had no idea they existed. The view never got old. Streets lined with Earth-style architecture wound between towering vertical farms, while maglev trains carried people to work in the manufacturing districts. Children played in parks built under artificial skies, and couples walked hand in hand along waterways that had been carved from solid rock. It looked like any human city, except for one incredible fact. It was completely invisible to the rest of the galaxy. "Sir, the morning reports are ready," announced his aide Lee Hai-jin, stepping onto the observation deck with a datapad in her hands. At 28, she was part of the first generation born in the colonies, humans who had never seen Earth's blue sky but considered the stars their true home. "Give me the numbers," Nam said, turning away from the window. Hye-jin scrolled through her data. 17 colonies are now fully operational across 9 different star systems. Population has reached 47 million across all settlements. Agricultural output from our farming worlds is producing enough surplus food to support another 20 million people. Our manufacturing capabilities have exceeded pre-barrier Earth levels by 400%. Nam shook his head in amazement. When the first colony ships had launched 25 years ago, they had been desperate experiments. Small groups of volunteers willing to risk everything to prove that humanity could survive outside Earth's solar system. Now those same experimental outposts had grown into thriving cities that surpassed anything humanity had built before the exile. "What about detection risks?" Nam asked, always his primary concern. 0 incidents across all colonies this month, Hye-jin reported with obvious pride. "The dimensional cloaking systems are working perfectly. 3 different alien survey teams passed through the Kepler 442 system last week, conducting routine scans. Their instruments showed nothing but empty space and a few unremarkable moons. The irony was almost funny. The aliens had such advanced technology that they couldn't imagine anyone else developing something completely different. Their sensors looked for energy signatures, metal compositions, and communication signals, all the traditional signs of civilization. They never thought to look for dimensional phase shifts or quantum-masked structures." Nam's communication device chimed with an incoming priority message. "Administrator Nam, this is Captain Oh Dong-min calling from the stealth frigate Incheon. Are you available for a status update?" "Go ahead, Captain," Nam replied, activating the holographic display. Oh's image materialized in the air before them, transmitted through quantum entanglement from wherever his ship was currently operating. "Sir, Scout Team 7 has completed their survey of the Gliese 667 system. No alien presence detected, and we've identified 3 worlds with excellent colonization potential. One planet has existing water sources and breathable atmosphere. The other 2 would need terraforming, but they're rich in rare metals." "How far from established alien territories?" Nam asked. "Far enough to be safe, close enough for supply runs," Oh replied. "The nearest alien outpost is 6 light-years away, and based on their patrol patterns, they only survey this region once every 5 years. We could have a full colony established long before their next visit." Hye-jin was already pulling up star charts on her datapad. If we start the settlement process now, we could have the first habitat modules deployed within 3 months. The colony could be self-sufficient within 2 years. Nam nodded, but his mind was on bigger picture concerns. Captain, what's your assessment of alien activity in the sector? Any changes in their behavior? O's expression grew more serious. Actually, sir, that's something I wanted to discuss. We've been monitoring alien communications, and there are some interesting developments. Several alien governments are reporting mysterious technical failures in their outer territories. Ships losing navigation systems, mining operations shutting down unexpectedly, communication relays going offline. Are we causing that? Nam asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Not directly, O replied. But Dr. Park Jin-woo's advanced reconnaissance teams have been testing new technologies in those areas. Nothing that would harm alien crews, but enough to create confusion and keep them focused on their own problems instead of looking for us. It was a brilliant strategy, Nam had to admit. While aliens were dealing with mysterious technical problems in their established territories, they weren't spending time or resources exploring the empty systems where humanity was quietly building its new civilization. The best part, Haye-jin added, checking her latest intelligence reports, is that the aliens are starting to blame each other for these incidents. The Vorth Collective thinks the Kryn Federation is testing new weapons. The Hegemarchy suspects the Zalathi Empire is conducting sabotage operations. They're becoming more suspicious of each other and less focused on external threats. Nam smiled at the beautiful simplicity of it all. While the aliens had been congratulating themselves on containing the human problem, humanity had been building an invisible empire in the spaces between their worlds. Every hollow asteroid, every dead moon, every region of space the aliens considered worthless had become potential real estate for human expansion. Approve the new colony site, Nam decided. Begin immediate deployment of the advance teams. And Captain O, extend my congratulations to your scouts. They've done excellent work. As O's image faded, Nam turned back to the viewing window. Outside, New Busan continued its quiet bustle of daily life. But now he could envision the bigger picture. Dozens of human cities scattered across the galaxy, connected by invisible supply lines and protected by technology the aliens couldn't even imagine. The galaxy thought humanity was trapped behind a barrier, slowly dying in isolation. In reality, they were everywhere, growing stronger every day and preparing for something the aliens would never see coming. The silent expansion continued, and humanity was winning a war that nobody else even knew was being fought. Agent Kang, Yejin stood before the mirror in her private quarters, watching her reflection shift and change as the biomodification nanites completed their work. Her human features melted away like water, replaced by the distinctive scaled skin and elongated skull of a Saurian diplomat. Even her bone structure altered to match the alien physiology perfectly. The transformation was flawless. 20 years of advanced genetic research had made this possible. Humans who could become perfect copies of alien species down to the cellular level. Not just external appearance, but blood chemistry, organ function, even brainwave patterns that would fool the most sophisticated medical scanners. Identity sync complete, announced the AI assistant built into her quarters. Agent Kang Ye-jin is now Diplomat Zarthek of the 3rd Saurian House. All biological markers match the established identity. Ye-jin, now Zarthek, adjusted her diplomatic robes and checked her appearance one final time. In 30 minutes, she would be sitting in the Galactic Council's most classified intelligence briefing, listening to secrets that could determine the fate of entire civilizations. And she would be the only human in a room full of aliens who trusted her completely. The walk to the intelligence center took her through the heart of the council station. Alien beings of every description moved through the corridors. Floating, jellyfish-like creatures that communicated through color changes, insectoid warriors with razor-sharp mandibles, gaseous entities contained in environmental suits. They all nodded respectfully to her Saurian diplomatic credentials, never suspecting that a member of the contained human species was walking freely among them. Diplomat Zarthek, welcome, greeted Intelligence Chief Mortaku as she entered the briefing room. The Saurian's genuine warmth made Ye-jin feel a pang of guilt. These beings had come to trust her completely over the past 5 years of deep cover work. Around the circular table sat representatives from 12 different alien intelligence agencies. Each believed they were among the galaxy's most sophisticated espionage operatives. None of them realized that 3 of their colleagues were actually human agents reporting back to Earth. The situation in the Outer Rim territories is becoming concerning, Mortaku began, activating a holographic display of the galaxy. Red markers indicated areas of instability. The Vorth Collective has been mobilizing significant military resources for what they're calling a cleansing campaign against species they deem genetically inferior. Yejin leaned forward with apparent interest, while internally her stomach churned. The Vorth Collective's idea of genetic cleansing involved the systematic extermination of entire species. Their last campaign had wiped out the peaceful Mellery civilization, 3 billion beings reduced to cosmic dust because the Vorth considered them evolutionary mistakes. Intelligence suggests they're targeting the Kepler sector next, continued a Kryn Federation representative. Approximately 40 species in that region, most of them pre-spaceflight civilizations that pose no threat to anyone. The casual way these aliens discussed genocide made Yejin's biomodified blood boil, but she maintained her diplomatic composure, nodding thoughtfully while her hidden recording devices captured every word. Within hours, this intelligence would be transmitted through quantum channels to Admiral Lim Sang-min at Deep Strike Command. Perhaps diplomatic pressure could dissuade them, suggested another representative, though his tone made it clear he didn't believe his own words. The Vorth don't respond to diplomacy, Mortaku replied grimly. They believe they're carrying out a sacred duty to purify the galaxy. Reasoning with fanatics is impossible. As the briefing continued, Yejin's mind was already working on solutions. Across the galaxy, her fellow human agents were positioned perfectly to intervene. Park Hyun-woo had spent 8 years working his way up to become a senior trade advisor in the Kryn Federation, with access to their supply chain networks. Seo Ji-hoon held a position of trust as a military analyst in the Zalathi Empire, giving him access to weapons systems and fleet movements. The beauty of their operations was that humans had learned to think in ways the aliens couldn't anticipate. While alien intelligence focused on political maneuvering and territorial disputes, human agents looked for technological vulnerabilities and psychological pressure points. 3 days later, the Vorth Collective's massive cleansing fleet suffered what appeared to be a cascade of technical failures. Navigation systems began displaying false coordinates, weapon targeting computers developed mysterious glitches, and life support systems on several ships malfunctioned in ways that forced the crews to return to base. The alien intelligence community spent weeks analyzing the failures, searching for evidence of sabotage by rival governments. They never suspected that human agents had introduced quantum viruses into the Vorth supply chain months earlier, lying dormant until activated by a specific signal. It's remarkable how these technical problems always seem to occur at the most convenient times, Mortaku commented during the next intelligence briefing, reviewing reports of the failed Vorth campaign. Yejin nodded with apparent sympathy, while privately celebrating another victory. Perhaps the universe itself opposes their genocidal intentions, she suggested with perfect Saurian philosophical detachment. The irony was beautiful. For decades, these alien intelligence agencies had prided themselves on being the galaxy's ultimate puppet masters, pulling strings from behind the scenes to maintain the balance of power. They never realized that humans had been pulling their strings, guiding galactic events to prevent atrocities and protect innocent species. What made it even more satisfying was that human agents weren't just gathering intelligence. They were actively making the galaxy a better place. Every prevented genocide, every stopped war, every corrupt regime that mysteriously collapsed was another small victory for the species the aliens had dismissed as primitive and chaotic. The meeting ended with the usual diplomatic pleasantries. As Yejin walked back to her quarters, she passed a viewport showing the endless expanse of space. Somewhere out there, millions of beings in the Kepler sector were going about their daily lives, never knowing how close they had come to extinction. They would never know that their salvation had come from the species the galaxy had rejected and tried to forget. Humanity had become the galaxy's secret guardians, working from the shadows to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. And the best part was that nobody suspected a thing. Fleet Admiral Jung In-ho watched the tactical displays on the bridge of the dreadnought Seoul as the moment humanity had been preparing for over 70 years finally arrived. Around him, officers moved with quiet efficiency, their faces showing the controlled excitement of people who knew they were about to make history. "All fleets report ready, Admiral," announced Captain Lee Min-seo from the communication station. 300 ships positioned around Earth, another 2,000 emerging from dimensional folds across the galaxy. Every major alien world has human vessels in position. Jung nodded, feeling the weight of this moment. The Seoul was more than just a warship. It was a symbol of everything humanity had become during their forced exile. Built using technologies the aliens couldn't even imagine, powered by dimensional generators that bent space itself, and armed with weapons that existed in multiple realities simultaneously. "Signal from Earth, sir," reported Communications Officer Park Junho. "President Kim Da-eun is ready to begin the broadcast. Open the channel," Jung commanded. "Let the galaxy hear what we've become." The bridge fell silent as President Kim Da-eun's voice filled the void, transmitted simultaneously across every communication network in known space. Her words reached alien homeworlds, space stations, trading posts, and military installations all at the same moment. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice calm but carrying an undertone of steel. "We are humanity. 70 years ago, you cast us out. You declared us chaotic, primitive, dangerous. You sealed us behind a barrier and told yourselves you had solved the human problem." On the tactical displays, Jung watched as the quarantine barrier around Earth began to dissolve. The energy field that had contained humanity for decades flickered and faded like morning mist, revealing not the backward planet the aliens expected, but something that defied their understanding. Massive orbital stations ringed Earth like jewels on a crown. Shipyards stretched for thousands of kilometers, building vessels that incorporated technologies from a dozen different dimensions. Space elevators rose from the planet's surface, carrying cargo to orbital platforms that served as gateways to an empire the aliens never knew existed. "You thought isolation would weaken us," President Kim continued. "Instead, you gave us the greatest gift possible. You united us against a common enemy and gave us unlimited motivation to prove you wrong." Across the galaxy, alien commanders stared at their sensor displays in disbelief as human fleets materialized out of dimensional folds around their homeworlds. Ships that had been completely invisible suddenly appeared in perfect formation, their quantum signatures blazing across detection systems like new stars being born. "Contact with Vorth Collective Command has been lost," reported Lieutenant Colonel Yoon Tae-kyung from the intelligence station. "Their entire fleet appears to be experiencing simultaneous system failures." Jung smiled grimly. The Vorth Collective had been preparing another genocide campaign against peaceful species in the Outer Rim. Now their ships were turning their weapons on each other, as human quantum viruses overrode their targeting systems, turning their own technology against them. On the planet Zalathi Prime, Trade Advisor Park Hyun-woo removed his biomodification disguise in front of the shocked Zalathi High Command, revealing his human features for the first time in 8 years. Across the Kryn Federation, military analyst Seo Ji-hoon did the same, dropping his alien appearance like a discarded mask. "We have been among you all along," President Kim's voice continued. "Your diplomats, your advisors, your trusted allies. Many of them were human agents, working to prevent wars, stop genocides, and protect species you would have destroyed." In the Galactic Council chamber, the 12 alien representatives sat frozen in horror as their tactical displays showed the impossible. Human fleets surrounded every major alien world, not as invaders, but as guardians who had been watching and protecting the galaxy from the shadows. "This is impossible," roared the Hegemarch, its metallic form flickering with unstable energy. "You were contained. We monitored your system constantly." Admiral Jung activated the main view screen, showing his image to the Council for the first time. Behind him, the bridge of the Soul displayed technology that was centuries ahead of anything the aliens possessed. "You monitored our solar system," Jung replied calmly. But you never thought to look between the dimensions you couldn't see. While you were watching one small star system, we built an empire in the spaces you never knew existed. Commander Shin, Aaron stepped forward from her position at the tactical station. 70 years ago, you called us chaotic and primitive. You were wrong about both. We are organized beyond your comprehension, and our technology makes yours look like stone tools. The alien representatives scrambled to contact their homeworlds, but found their communication networks flooded with messages from their own citizens. Across the galaxy, oppressed species were receiving advanced weapons and shield technology from mysterious benefactors, who were finally revealing themselves as human agents. The age of council dominance is over, President Kim announced. But we do not come as conquerors. We come as the guardians we have always been. Species who choose cooperation over oppression, protection over exploitation, will find humanity, surprisingly forgiving allies. On Kepler 442b, Colony Administrator Nam Jae-sung watched through the observation windows of New Busan as the dimensional cloaking fields deactivated around their secret cities. For the first time in decades, the galaxy could see what humanity had built. Thriving civilizations that existed in perfect harmony with their environments. To those who have committed atrocities, the president's voice took on a harder edge. Know that we have been watching. We have evidence of every crime, records of every genocide, proof of every act of oppression. Justice will be served. The Vorth Collective's remaining ships found themselves surrounded by human vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. Their communication channels filled with detailed records of their genocidal campaigns, evidence that could only have been gathered by someone with complete access to their most classified information. Admiral Jung looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These were the descendants of humans who had been rejected and cast out, told they were too dangerous for civilized society. Now they commanded the most advanced fleet in galactic history, and they had spent decades using that power to protect the innocent and prevent atrocities. You gave us the greatest gift possible, Jung announced to the stunned alien representatives. You gave us a common enemy and unlimited motivation. You forced us to become something greater than we ever imagined. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had returned, and this time they held all the cards.